1 second. Board docs. Okay.
Raja? Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, Wednesday, June 21st, 2023, at 7 p.m. Roll call, please, Moscow.
Trustee Burbett?
Here.
Trustee Caveney?
Here.
Trustee Crowley?
Here.
Trustee Hilly? Trustee Johnson?
Here.
Trustee Killily?
Here.
Mayor LaRue?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, I will open the floor to public comment. Is there any public comment tonight? John? Seeing no public comment, I will close the floor to public comment and move on to trustee business. Trustee Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I have one thing tonight. My apologies, but I sent an email on yesterday asking for trustees to, I'm going to use my words, temporarily modify the attached Village Green gazebo rules and guidelines. The reason for this is the events committee is planning on having a community picnic on Sunday, August 13th from 1 to 5 p.m. And a couple of the rules we have in our document that we approved, I think going on 2 years, needs to be amended for this particular event. The reason I'm asking is this is an event that's sponsored by the event committee, which is part of the village. I heard back from the mayor, and he is in agreement that we could have amplified music, that we could have grills, that if people wanted to bring alcohol beverages, they could, but we need to watch for them, and it can't be in bottles, and that we could have a jumpy. So I haven't heard from anybody else. I take that as a positive response from the mayor, and we're planning to go forward based on this email that I received. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
You got some for me, didn't you? Didn't you get some for me?
Mm-mm.
Well, for me, number 3 is a issue.
What's number 3? Alcoholic beverages.
BYOB, yeah. I don't think that should happen.
The village board changed the rules in the village, so in order to do that, there would probably have to be a permit issued by the liquor commissioner to the events committee to do that under our ordinance. But you are correct. It would not be permitted without a permit, special permit from the liquor commissioner.
I think the signs we put out there were no alcoholic beverages without approval or something. I forget what the sign exactly say, but whatever. I mean,
I don't care if we sell them, but as long as we check their ID. I think bringing, like you're doing BYOB, you're asking for it.
Well, it's a community event. Families, I anticipate, I envision families coming, rolling a cooler, having pop, water,
Yeah,
potentially.
that's more likely that somebody will bring alcohol to young
If
people.
the board's pleasure is no alcohol, we'll adjust.
No, I mean, didn't you sell it last year?
No, that was for the
Oh,
Oktoberfest.
Okay.
Yes, that's Oktoberfest, and we
Okay.
had bars in town
Oh, I see.
sell it.
I think,
And they
yeah.
sold it, so they took responsibility.
Right.
That's why we proposed a BYOB, that
Right.
it would be the individual's responsibility to monitor themselves. Again, it's 1 to 5, it's on a Sunday. I don't see it as a rip-roaring party, but if the board feels that we should have no alcohol, then that's fine. We'll make sure that that is communicated in our marketing efforts.
anyone else? Can't just let Don talk.
I apologize, I didn't address this sooner because I thought we were going to just talk about it today. I think it's a great idea, and I understand Don's point of view, but I agree with Kathy that it's a Sunday afternoon from 1 to 5, so I don't see it that anybody would take the opportunity to, overserve themselves if it's a family event.
My response to Trustee Johnson was, it's basically what we do for National Night Out, except including allowing people to bring a cooler with some alcohol in it.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem with it, but I want to hear from the majority of the board.
I have, I actually just today sent a text to our, or the information to our lieutenant. We'll put it on our schedule, so we will make sure we have ample people on shift to make sure we can have a presence there as well.
Any issues from you?
No, not at all.
Okay. But you still think I need to put something in writing to the events committee?
Yes, yeah, in order for the event, because it is the events committee is a committee of the village, and the village has a prohibition without a special permit for those exact activities. All that needs to be done is for you to authorize a special permit for the events committee, and of course, the board to approve it.
Okay. A simple email to trustee Johnson would suffice, or you think of something more specific?
I believe we have a permit for that. Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I will take it up with
When is the,
It's Sunday, August 13th.
plenty of time.
We had met today, and I shared what the mayor had said, and one of my to-dos was to send the police department a note to say, here's what it is, here's what we're planning, so that you guys are aware, but Trustee Crowley beat me to it. Thank you.
okay,
That's all I have.
that's it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Trustee Burbatt.
Thank you, Mayor. Everyone should have received a quote for cleaning services for the new police department. Covers the things that will be the regular frequency with a monthly fee of $1,900, and then there are some deep cleaning services that are outlined that'll come up from time to time. I'm asking that we put that on the consent agenda for next week. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions?
Should the current cleaning contract then for this building be adjusted to
The
eliminate?
current
police department?
contract's suspended until we start making use of the building again.
Well, is that a separate contract than the rest of the building?
That portion of whatever it is all I can say. I don't know that it's on its own separate contract. The
Okay.
cleaning of that area is suspended until
Okay, so then
using the space.
our monthly bill for this building should be adjusted and go down then?
Accordingly, yes.
Okay. Consent agenda for next week, please. Anything else tonight?
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Cavney.
Thank you, Mayor. Our typical visitors are here. First, I wanted to publicly acknowledge a couple of our residents who have been really making an effort to get out to the community and clean up some properties. I wanted to recognize Sandy and her son, Sonny Cortez, Gail Martinez, Jason and Sarah Decker, and their 2 kids, and the meetup cleanup crew. I don't know exactly who meets Jason every weekend when they go out and, hit the various blocks, but I wanted to recognize all those people and tell them thank you very much and that your efforts have not gone unnoticed. So today I was out and I took pictures of the post office. It looks hideous, absolutely hideous. I contacted the postmaster, and he has told me that on several occasions, he has sent a request to his manager to hire a landscaper to come and clean outside. And he told me the request has to go to 4 levels. And it gets denied all the time because the response he gets back supposedly is, you don't have grass, why do you need a landscaper? I said, well, have you sent them pictures of the 5-foot weeds that are growing out of your building? No. I said, well, I'll send you the pictures I took today. So I sent him those pictures. We'll see if anything happens with it. But my next step will be to contact Senator Durbin, Senator Duckworth, and all of our representatives
So.
to see if they can do anything, because it's totally disgusting, and we have a postmaster who doesn't really care.
So when I was driving by today, the post office, there was a orangish yellow vehicle parked on the sidewalk. I went around the block, like literally on the sidewalk. I went around the block and was calling, you know, to have someone come, but they were pulling away. And so I kind of stopped, watched them pull away, and a lady coming out goes, I was wondering if someone was gonna do that. They pulled up when I got here. I'm like, who's parks on, I couldn't even get a picture. Who parks on the sidewalk in front of
Yeah.
the,
Was it like a vendor truck?
no,
or-
it was a passenger vehicle. I didn't, it wasn't even there, it wasn't long enough for me to call
Yeah.
someone to come
Come
and
in.
address it, but I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
what is going on?
I know. The Moran building and their space, their building next door, the All-Star Automotive. Moran Brands owns both properties. They are for sale. Moran has moved out and has been negligent. I sent emails to both the building owner and the tenant, gave them 5 days to clean up their mess because they also have 5-foot weeds outside.
Where's the
third-
Moran building?
It's up on 147th Street. I don't remember the cross street. There's a traffic light there.
Moran Industries, the dark brick.
Oh, it's
red
next
brick.
to the MWRD retention pond, just on the west side of the retention pond.
Between Costner and Kilburn.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that office building, it's like an office warehouse building. It's been vacant for a while. They also own the All-Star Automotive next door. Years ago, that used to be a Midas or a Meineke or something.
Started out as a transmission
Yeah.
repair.
So I sent emails to both of them and asked them to please clean up their mess. The former Brown's Fried Chicken has been a thorn in everyone's side and an eyesore forever. They were in Moose Court last week for a citation they got for fly dumping and weeds. Their attorney came and represented the property owner. I spoke to the attorney last week and I told her that I was calling her. Rather than sending out another citation, I thought I would try the feather approach instead of the hammer approach, which is not usually my style when it comes to weeds, but I just thought I'd give it a try.
No.
So I had a nice conversation with the attorney and asked her to convey to the property owner that, you know, I understand that they're busy with their other daytime jobs, but this is still their property, they need to take care of it, and that they need to hire somebody to come out once a week and monitor. Because again, there were 5-foot weeds growing out in cracks up along the building. So I'll check it out next week and make sure that it's been taken care of, and if it has not, then we will send them another citation, and we will see the attorney in court again. So, you know, I told her that they've got to hire someone to come out there once a week to take care of it. And then 3304 147th Street, that property was turned over to the land bank. There is, and I know that I've reported on this before, so our abandonment case is pending because the property taxes were sold, and apparently there's a tax buyer waiting in the wings, and there is a status hearing on that tax sale tomorrow. So hopefully after tomorrow, our attorney will be able to give us an update on that. The Karloff and Keystone condominiums and apartments. So I've been in communication with all of the apartment building owners that are on the west side of Keystone and the east side of Karloff, trying to get them to get out there and manage their garbage, update their building signage, because you can't read the address, even if you stand 2 feet from it, because the address signs are so wore out. So we're working on that, and also working with all of the condominium and apartment building owners on the west side of Keystone, from 147th all the way to 140th Street. The building of particular concern is 14601 Keystone. That's the condominium building that I believe is right on the south side of the creek. They have that awning that's hanging off over the stairs. It's all crooked and ready to fall down. They've applied for a permit twice. They applied for a permit, about 2 years ago to fix it, and they never did it. So we sent them a citation, and they have now applied for another permit to fix it, but trash continues to still be a problem there as well. So we are diligently working on, you know, addressing all the trash issues in those apartments and condos. So again, if anybody, you know, sees a property in town that requires some attention, requires some property maintenance, please send an email to the building department, and they or I will address it as quickly as we can. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. So after our conversation here with Mr. Decker and the 145th and
Yes.
Keystone, I've made it a point now to, when I leave Sitco, every time I leave Sitco, I take 145th.
Mhm.
It really does, to me, very clearly, it's debris coming from the parking lot, people throwing stuff out of the car, and it just keeps blowing south to the property.
Mhm. I did,
Can we put up
oh,
a I mean,
those 4 condos, Mayor, those 4 condo buildings that are north of the creek, between the creek and 145th, they're all part of the same association. And I did have a nice conversation with that property manager, and she told me that they did hire somebody. She actually met Jason out
Mhm.
cleaning, so she actually did hire someone to come every other week to pick up after the dogs and to clean garbage. And I told her that, you know, we were told occasionally when Jason's out there cleaning that, you know, people who park in the angled parking in front of those buildings will leave a pile of garbage right on the street outside their car door, like they cleaned out their car and just dumped it in the street, not the parkway. So I asked her if she would please send an email or a note to all of the residents, and if they're rentals, to send it to the tenants and the landlords to let them know that the village is gonna be monitoring this. If I see a pile of trash next to a car in the street, they're gonna get a citation. I'm done with warnings now. We're sending out citations, because this is getting absolutely ridiculous.
yeah, so I get that, but my point is that property right there at 145th and Keystone,
The house, you mean?
the house.
Yes, those
It-
poor people.
I know, I just feel terrible.
Yeah,
Can we
it's
not,
awful.
we
yeah.
can't make them put a fence up and keep the garbage on their property? The plaza owner?
We can write the plaza owner.
Well, but how do you,
prove that?
yeah.
I mean, it's,
He can't maintain garbage on his property. You can't say, I'm going to do it.
well, it's not on his property anymore, it's
No,
blows to the
it
neighbors.
keeps blowing off
Oh,
of his
you're talking
property
about- okay.
onto the
It
residential
blows
house
across
across the street.
145th, and it gets stuck in this poor person's
Then I
yard.
think all that it takes is for a code enforcement officer on a windy day to go out there and stand there for a couple of minutes, and if he sees one gum wrapper blow off the property, he'll write a citation.
If I
Please don't
had an extra
encourage
code
them.
enforcement officer that had time to do that, I guess I'll have to do that myself.
I was gonna say, did anyone taking a picture suffice as evidence?
Of it
Video?
blowing off?
Yeah.
Well, sure, if you could get a picture of a gum wrapper that was here, and then you see it over there, then yeah.
Well, I mean, instinctively you think they left their dumpster open behind the building, but it's
Mhm.
not. It's clearly coming from the parking lot,
Right.
blowing
And
south into the yard.
that plaza owner does have blue garbage cans out on the sidewalk for people to use. There are garbage cans there.
Clearly, they don't use them.
The other option is to have police department go out and write citations, because otherwise, there is no solution if we can't witness the garbage coming from one property owner to the next.
Mhm.
That's just the standard of proof, not just here, but if it goes to the circuit court on appeal, the judge is gonna say, how do you know that garbage?
Okay.
Mhm.
Now, if it's there for a long time in the residence yard, we can write the residents, but I understand that's not what we're
It's
trying
not
to
their
do.
garbage.
They're not the person
Yeah.
who,
Exactly. I mean, I'm sure that at some point they do go out there and pick it up, but I mean, they could be out there 5 times a day picking up garbage.
and,
It's ridiculous.
and we did have to issue letters to the residents who lived behind the dollar store, the Dollar Tree, because their position was, if it's up against my fence, that's proof that it's not my garbage. But if it's on their property and we can't,
They still have to clean it up.
we have to tell them that, look, you still have to pick it up.
Mhm. Speaking of the Dollar Tree, they are due in court, I believe, in July on citation because they still haven't replaced the broken window on the vacant space. And I'm gonna check and see if they've received any citations for grass and weeds lately, and if not, we'll be sending them a citation for grass and weeds. Because that property is a mess, and I'm done talking to them. I'm done sending them reminders. He's an absentee landlord who doesn't give a crap about that property. I also had conversation with the property management company for, is it Mid-Oak, do I have that right, where Walgreens is?
Mhm.
Okay. That plaza owner does not own Walgreens and does not own White Castle, just so everyone's clear on that. But I had gone in there a couple weeks ago to bring a check to the bank for the golf outing, and there was trash everywhere. Every single little shrub in that plaza had piles of trash in it. So I called and I had a conversation with her and told her that they need to do something about the garbage. They did tell me that they hired a new company who was going to be starting on July 1st. She claimed that the old company was blaming all the trash from the tenants, that they're putting their tenant trash in little brown garbage cans at the plaza and not in their own dumpsters. I said, well, then go check, make sure everybody's got a dumpster. If their lease requires them all to have their own dumpster, then then you go check and make sure they have dumpsters. But in the meantime, something has to be done about the trash. And the vice president of People's Bank told me that there's also a big problem with vagrants and homeless people wandering around, in and out. She said, we've got shoeless people wandering in and out of the bank all the time that we have to shoo out of there. So I said, has anybody ever called the police about this? I have no idea. I said, and if you knew, and I'm having this conversation with the property manager, if you knew that there were homeless people wandering around, if they were being a nuisance and causing a problem for your tenants, has anybody ever called the police department? And she has no idea. So I told her, I said, I will ask the police department if it's possible to maybe do an extra pass through the parking lot, you know, different times of different days, you know, just to make our presence known. But I told her, I said, the police cannot give private security to every commercial property owner here in Midlothian. I said, so if it's really becoming a problem, perhaps you need to talk amongst yourselves and hire a private security company, maybe 2 nights a week or 2 days a week. Have them come random different times so that people can see that the property's being monitored and they're not gonna put up with any nonsense.
I see Lieutenant Tebow writing, so I'm sure he'll let all the watch commanders and the sergeants know to keep
Yeah,
an eye on it.
so,
Okay.
you know, we are doing what we can to hit all of the problem properties in town. I'm not aware at this point that we have any significant issues with any residential properties, but if there are any out there, please send an email to buildingdepartment@villageofmidlothian.org with the address, and we will address it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Kiley.
Thank you, Mayor. Few things tonight. First of all, beautification. A beautification meeting is on Thursday at 7:15 in the chambers. Also, we're getting ready, as you know, for the garden walk on July 16th. We have 14 houses right now, and we probably will have a couple more. That is the largest garden walk in the Chicago area, and has been for some years. Most garden walks have 5 or 6 homes, and they think that's good. And we got some really great new ones this year. Also, MWRD is going to raffle off a rain barrel, and also they have a sale on the rain barrels also.
Oh,
So,
they do?
so if
Okay.
you don't win, you can always get one from them. It's a really good price.
Do you know what they're selling them for?
$10 or $12, something like
It was
that.
29.
Was it? I don't
It
know.
was in their email too.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it was 29.
Yeah.
I didn't look. I just know that it's
Well,
cheaper than it was.
$29 is very, very reasonable for a rain barrel, because if you go to Menards and look for them, at Menards, they're $65 and more.
Right,
So,
right.
very excellent.
So they're going to be there from 10 to 12 with their raffle, and we have 2 vendors also. So, you know, the tickets are,
Who are the vendors?
Oh, you're right, Don. It's $10.50 for seniors 65 and older, and $21.50 for all
Yeah, that's a
others.
great-
limited.
that's a great
That's
deal.
real
It was
price.
20-something.
Yeah,
so we have birdhouses and one other vendor.
very,
So,
Very cool.
so it's going to be good. Tickets are $10. They'll be sold at the Village Green from 10 to 2. So on to finance things. OPEB, which is, we need an audit for the retiree insurance liability, and we want to send out a, what do we want to send out? RFQ? No, we want to send out an engagement. We want to send out an engagement letter. Thank you.
They sent us.
Okay,
I think
so
I forwarded it last night.
we'd like to have that on the agenda for next week, and of course, we don't have the engagement letter, so.
I thought
we'll-
we did. We don't?
Well, it wasn't, we didn't have it at the meeting.
I think there's one.
So Yvonne, I think, we'll
Yeah.
have Yvonne send it to the clerk.
Yep.
We had a finance meeting yesterday. The big topic of discussion, among other things, was sewer and water rates. We are unable to make a recommendation on the sewer and the water rates because it took us quite some time to figure out what the scenarios were, and that the scenarios that were presented weren't quite in line with what we were thinking. Number one is that we don't think that the sewer and or water department should be subsidized by any transfers in from any other fund. These are enterprise funds, they're just like ComEd or NICOR, and basically the users should pay the cost of having water and the cost of sewer services. And so that wasn't what was presented, so we have to come up with more scenarios. And we spent a lot of time on it and it pretty much got nowhere. I talked to Maggie today, we were trying to come up with another scenario, and hopefully we'll have that ready for you on tomorrow. And we'll have to decide whether we're going to, it may be on the agenda, and we'll have to decide whether you want to approve it for then. We're already into the new fiscal year, two months, and so we've lost 2 months' worth of revenues, and that creates more deficit. So I don't know if that's what we want to do or not. Also, one of the big topics of discussion was having a plan for something like what we do for sidewalks. We have a plan and criteria for when we should repair a sidewalk, when we should replace a sidewalk. We have a plan, and that's all laid out. We have somebody come by and give us their opinion on it, and basically we have a 4-year plan. We don't have that that we know of from Public Works. There may be one. I asked Superintendent Sperry that today, but we want one, because the worst case scenario is going to be what happens to some of our neighbors, that all the pipes go out at one time and we can't afford to fix it. That's not what we want to do. We want to provide good service to our residents, and we want to have a planned repair or replacement plan for the water and sewer department. And so we want to work on that. It's not going to happen right away, but we want to get the ball rolling, whether Robinson has to do it, or have they already given Public Works that information already. We want to know and create a capital plan that would provide for a planned sewer or water main replacement, so that we know the true cost of the department. We don't know that right now. Now, in the past that I'm aware of, the department budget has never included that they replace sewer or water mains. They don't have enough money. The water main over here on Kilpatrick cost pretty close to $500,000 just for a block. So it's not going to happen, but we have to find the money somewhere, and hopefully not from a bond if we can avoid it. Something that we have enough revenue from somewhere to do this, then that's going to be an ongoing topic of discussion. So we're going to try to see what we can do to give you the right information and help you make a decision on the sewer and water rates. We will, for the next meeting, we will recommend, the Finance Department will, I'm sure, recommend an amount. The recommended amount that was recommended yesterday was not sufficient, we don't think. And we also will have a PowerPoint presentation, I believe, so that the residents who are watching or in the audience or watching on Facebook will get an explanation of what this is all about, as clear as we can possibly make it. So, any questions or comments? There was a lot of discussion.
There was
A lot. And that's all I have here.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Crowley.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple things tonight. First on my agenda, I have the discussion of our comp time policy. I sent this out to the village board a few weeks ago and put it on the agenda for discussion. If everybody will remember that Trustee Caveney had some suggestions that she wanted to implement, and this is the policy update that resulted from that. So I haven't received any feedback from anybody, so I'm assuming it's fine. I will ask Deputy Clerk Kulaki to put it on the agenda for approval next week, and if anybody has any revisions, you can just send me an email, and send an email to Yvonne and copy Don and I, and we'll have her make it. Okay? Anybody have any other questions on that? Next on my agenda, I have the discussion of the trade-in of 7 used vehicles and the purchase of 1 new one, with the remaining balance from seized funds. If the village board will remember, last year, the police department asked to order 4 cars instead of 2, so we could get them in at the guaranteed price last year. We are still receiving those cars. I believe one's almost ready, right, Lieutenant?
Yeah, they just started them.
Right, so we are looking forward to getting another one shortly. This, however, this is, the police department is in possession of 7 used vehicles. A number of them are seized cars that have now been turned over to the police department, and a couple are now out of use cars that the police department were using that have a lot of miles on them and really can't be reused. Trustee Caveney, I did ask if they could be repurposed throughout the village, and I was informed that would not be recommended.
I think they, Lieutenant, I think they lowballed you on that 2012 Crown Vic with 115,000 miles.
It's got the tin under the mat so you can see the ground.
So,
Actually, trustee, it's brought to 8.
oh, we have another one now?
We had a seized vehicle that they lost the paperwork on it down in Cook County from 2021, so we just got the title.
Can you
So
add
that's on
that to this and send it to myself and Deputy Clerk Kolaki as well
Yeah, I have
as?
a list of 8 of them I can send in the morning. Yeah.
If you can just resend that so we can get the correct vehicles on there, because we'll have to have a, what's the term?
An ordinance to dispose of property.
A disposition. So if you can get that out tomorrow, then we can get that out.
No problem.
Did anybody have any questions on that? The balance then will be lowered, so I'll make sure I get that out to everybody before next, for the next meeting. Next, just a couple of updates. Last week, the village board approved the execution of a document that Attorney Valadez had been working on with GovTemps for our economic development consultant. I spoke I know that Attorney Valadez had sent that over to them for their signature. I spoke to Mike Earl, he was on vacation. He said he will look for that and get that signed to, that signed, what is the word? Executed document, I'm losing it tonight. The signed executed document over to us as soon as possible, but not to delay, so I did reach out to Steve Jones, and he will have a draft for the mayor, Trustee Caveney, and myself to start looking at for some of the his suggestions by Saturday. He'll have that emailed to us. So just kind of an update. I also sent out to the board last week, I believe, a copy of some scenarios from Finance Director Redmond regarding now that we're going to a scheduling software for our non-union employees, that we need to look at our vacation leave policy. I haven't had a chance to sit down with Trustee Johnson yet, but hopefully maybe this week, Kathy, you and I can sit down and make a recommendation on, what everyone's suggesting, so that everyone can take a look at that. Last week, we discussed briefly the BRIC grant that we were notified by our grant company that they suggested might be something that we look into. We talked to our village attorney, and he made an excellent suggestion of setting a letter of intent for the Jolly Homes project. I received that letter of intent today and will be submitting it for the BRIC grant and trying to secure up to $6 million for the project. So we'll keep everybody updated on how that goes. Our engineer was great. He did a fantastic job on a turnover and gave us all the information right away. Gary, wouldn't you agree? It was, it really, for something that turned over in 48 hours, it really, they did a great job. So we'll be submitting that tomorrow. And like I said, hopefully keep everyone's fingers crossed. That'd be a huge win for the village. I also did ask them to check on the portion of, or the Illinois grant that they are offering now to cover the cost of federal matches. So they'll be checking into that to see if there's a federal match. If we get that far, if it works out, if that's something that we could apply for as well. I'll keep everybody posted.
I'm sure the village attorney could probably muster up some information about stormwater projects and grants, but.
And I'm willing to take the credit too, but I think you meant the village engineer.
I'm sorry, what?
You said village attorney.
Oh, sorry, I meant the village engineer. See, Nick, you're always on my mind.
All the stuff I do.
And then just a couple reminders, National Night Out. Everybody, hopefully everyone's coming, and going to be a great lineup again this year. Community Policing and Safety Committee is working hard. They have a great lineup. I know Lieutenant Tebow is also working hard and making sure that we get all the different law enforcement agencies that we can, so please come out. The CPSC is also having a Thunderbolts game, August 19th. They have been pushing it out on social media. The tickets are $11. Parts of the proceed go to the committee, which will then in turn go to the programs that they sponsor here in the village. And last but not least, we will have our final meeting in preparation of the Independence Day Parade on June 26th. And our Independence Day Parade is Saturday, July 1st. I hope to see everybody out there. And that is all I have, I think, tonight, sir.
That's it?
That's it.
That's the closest we've ever been to 4th of July with that parade.
It is.
See what happens. Thank you, ma'am. Attorney Valdez.
Yes, I did have an opportunity to review the village liquor code, and it appears that the events committee would be eligible for a block party permit that would serve the purpose of what their activities are going to be. In addition to that, we now have an arbitrator set to hear the case of the firefighters arbitration request on their successor contract. I want to assure the board that we did, in light of the victory from the administrative law judge on the issue of the insurance plan, to be magnanimous, we offered an invitation to the union if they decided that they would like to begin negotiations again rather than go straight to arbitration. Now that that issue has been resolved in our favor, they said that they were always willing to talk to us, but then said, send over what you had in mind. And I haven't had the opportunity to remind them that we were the one who issued our final offer that they rejected, so we will proceed to arbitration. That probably will happen sometime in September. Obviously, we will be more than over a year, 2 years into the contract by the time we get a result from this. So we might want to contemplate maybe a 4-year plan, a 4-year contract, so that we don't have to go through this process again a year from now. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Can I ask a question? So
Yes.
for the events committee, do I need to fill out a block party form?
That's it. And the village code provides for a $25 charge, but I understand that the village board has been waiving that for everyone, so.
We'll waive that.
Messed up a perfectly good income source, but.
Speaking of income sources, under my business, we were talking about revenue earlier. There are 2 smaller liquor establishments in town that are looking to sell their business to another proprietor. And based on our revised liquor ordinance, those licenses could possibly go away unless the board approves them to stay on our roster of licenses. These are smaller establishments. We've had 0 issues at these establishments, and while there's not a ton of revenue from these 2, it's certainly revenue that we may be counting on to keep our budget balanced. So I have to ask the board, well, we can talk about it right now. I mean, what do you guys think? They're small establishments, but
Are they gaming facilities?
they have machines in them, yeah.
Okay,
They're
so
bars with machines.
If they're gaming cafes, are the current proprietors going to be selling them to,
I think he said they were bars.
Well, I'm sorry. They actually, I think those are gaming cafe licenses, yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
My mistake.
So if they're gaming cafe proprietors, are they selling them to an experienced gaming cafe proprietor who can make a go of it, or are they selling it to somebody new who just on a whim decided that they wanna
Both,
try their hand at, running a gaming cafe.
both potential buyers have stressed that they are very good at this and they can make these establishments better.
So they're experienced.
Yes. So,
If that's the case, then I would not have a problem. If they were selling to somebody like brand new, who never
No,
owned a business
both-
before,
both
then,
potential buyers are experienced in the field.
okay,
And other, Sergio?
that's positive.
Sorry about Sam.
Sam, get his name, actually owns a restaurant in Palos.
He owns a restaurant in Palos, he owns several dozen Domino's pizzas, other businesses in California.
So they're experienced business people, so I just need to get the board's take on this. I can put it on the agenda next week under my business. I just don't know how we would word that, Attorney Valdez. We're looking to keep those 2 liquor licenses on the roster of licenses.
They'll still have to go through all the background checks and
Correct.
everything, correct? Won't be just transfer.
No, there's no
Okay,
trade.
I just wanted to make sure.
No transfers.
They have been informed that in the event that the board was willing to extend new liquor licenses from the passage of this ordinance liquor license ordinance, that it would be a whole new process, that it would not be a transfer, that they would have to qualify as though they were coming.
Right. So do the current owners, I did receive a call with regards to one of the locations. They were under the impression that they could just sell their business, but now they're under the impression that they were told that they've got to close their business down because the new owner actually has to go through the process of being approved. So the current owner can keep his business open and keep it going until the new owner is approved, correct? I mean, he doesn't have to close his business down while his potential buyer is going through the process?
If I was the seller, that's exactly what I would do, sure.
So he keep his business going, he doesn't have to close it, it doesn't have to be closed for business in order for his buyer to start the process with the village.
And my recommendation, if I was giving out recommendations, is that the buyer has all the stuff from the local and state that's required to have a liquor establishment.
Yeah, our
And then they
license
can make
allows
an
for that.
orderly
Our-
transfer from one owner to the
Right,
other.
our license, our ordinance provides for the transfer of liquor licenses.
Oh, it
However,
does?
yes, it does not require that, and in the event that a license goes out, in other words, they close their business and they're not using the license anymore, it's no longer there, it goes away. But under our ordinance, the liquor commissioner has the ability to transfer a license.
I don't like the word transfer.
Yeah, that's
it's,
'cause-
the buyer has to go through the process to get a liquor
Right.
license,
Right.
so it's not really transferring. So.
It's
I- I did-
reassigned, would you say reassigned to an
Well,
approved
Here's the
user?
situation in which a transfer comes in. Let's say we have a business that has a death in the family, and the father who ran the business is deceased.
Mhm.
Now, technically, that license would go away unless the liquor commissioner allows for the transfer, at least in the interim, until they can comply with the regulations of the liquor ordinance.
So ours says transfer, I thought ours says like temporary, he could temporarily.
Right, well, that's a temporary transfer.
What I'm gonna be asking the board next week is to maintain 2 gaming cafe licenses. I don't know how else to word it, I mean, because if that person's selling, well, you're saying it actually says we can't transfer. I thought the license went away if that person sold the business. If this person doesn't wanna run this establishment
Yes,
anymore, and then-
the owner of a license cannot designate it. It cannot say, I want to give it to someone else. So if they want to sell the business, they can do that. They can sell the restaurant, they can sell retail stuff, they can sell whatever they got, except the liquor license.
Right.
Right.
That goes away, which doesn't mean that they can't come back to the board, go through the vetting process, put in an application, and get a new license.
I'm asking, what is the wording I'm going to say next week? Or do I even have to ask? I thought I had to ask the board to keep those licenses available, not let them go.
Well, in the one case, the license is surrendered, so it's
Right,
gone. So
it's
it's
gone.
gone.
Okay.
That doesn't exist anymore.
That was on the one location that was closed down.
Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
so that one I have to ask the board to
Yes.
reinstate?
Yes, it's gone.
So I need to ask the board for one reinstate at this time?
Yes, yes,
One reinstatement and one retention.
correct. But I don't know that if,
Well,
I wouldn't want the board in a position of having to make a prospective determination on someone's qualifications. There's nothing wrong with the board issuing a statement saying, if you qualify, we would not be opposed to granting a new license. That's okay. Some businesses want is for the board to say, we're gonna give you a license, so now we can make the investment. In other words, before we come to you, how do you feel about the license? And
So what you're saying is they should apply for a license, go through the vetting process, then I ask the board to reinstate that license?
or to turn it
To just
over.
issue it.
To
Yeah.
issue it.
Yeah.
Right.
So should we use the word turnover instead of transfer? Trying to come up with a more,
Well, they're just applying for a new one.
yes.
I really am totally confused because,
Who wouldn't?
for two reasons. One, isn't there an ordinance that says how many
Yeah, we have a
licenses?
set license. But there was language in our new ordinance, that revised ordinance, that says that licenses go away, they come off our roster of licenses
They're reduced by one.
if this person gives up the business.
And that's
But they
the,
can't be placed back on the roster?
No, they can't.
I have
you
to
can
ask
if
the
you
board.
want.
but
So,
yes.
so isn't the essence of this that both of them should just, the licenses should just go away and then they apply to get them?
the whole purpose of this going away thing is that a cause of action could be created if a license exists and the board, for whatever reason, declines what a plaintiff would say is a qualified application for it. We didn't want to do that. We wanted to say, is
We
if a
don't
li-
have an application.
right, we don't, that if a license,
The mayor's a liquor commissioner though.
but there's
We
a,
never approved who was
The,
gonna
the
get a
first
liquor
thing is we
license
don't have an
before.
application,
We
so that's
never
not an
did.
issue.
No.
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 What I'm saying
It's
is
not
the
approving.
liquor commissioner can get sued too. What, the reason that we have this nuance now that a lot of municipalities are doing is because in the past, if you had 5 licenses
Yeah.
and one person went out of business, the new person would come in and say, I have a legal right to apply for that, and you denied me for no reason whatsoever,
because one's available.
because one's
Because
available.
one's available.
So
So-
what trustee
That's clear.
Crowley and DC and I decided was that to avoid that liability, given the direction that we were going with liquor licenses in Midlothian, which is that nobody's getting a liquor license ever until we can make sure that they will be safe for the residents of Midlothian, we put in that clause that says if a license goes away, the total number is reduced by 1, which means that a new person comes in and they say, do you have an do we have a license available? The answer is no. But if you would like to apply, the board can pass a resolution to create a new one. And that insulates us because there's case law that says that there's a huge difference between denying someone when there's one available and denying someone when there's not.
Okay,
I'm sorry I brought it up.
okay.
It was very
Sorry,
nuanced.
it's very nuanced, yes.
That's
It is.
nuanced.
It's not always pretty, John, it's not always pretty, but
And that-
we get
this-
things done.
This is a result of case law that said that, you know, no, nothing forces the liquor commissioner to create a new license. But he does have standards that he has to adhere to due process for someone who, across existing.
I will form the 2 potential buyers to start the process of obtaining a liquor license, and then I will come to the board to reinstate at least one. All right.
Yes.
All right, lastly, sadly, I have to let the board know that Maria has put in her 2-week notice. She's taking a job outside the village, and I wanted to personally and publicly thank you for your many years of dedicated service to the village of Midlothian, and I know the board does as well. So congratulations or good luck in your future endeavors, but thank you. Ellen, you got anything to add?
We will miss Maria very much. She's done quite a bit for us in the last 7 years or so. 6.5, 7 years, so you will be missed. Leave some big shoes to fill.
Thank you. All right, that's all I have tonight. Clerk Maskell.
I just have one item. The board would have seen another block party request on board docs. This one is for July 8th, the 14400 block of Catvale. They've also requested the police department, fire department visits, and it is signed by 3 different residents on the block. Does any board member have any concerns? Nope. Okay, then I will ask Maria to send them a letter.
Thought that maybe trustee Johnson had already sent you the application while we're sitting here.
For hers?
I have to get 3 signatures.
Coming to a meeting soon. That is all I have for you.
Thank you, sir. Seeing as though,
May I just add one more thing?
yes,
Okay, quickly.
I'm not.
One
I'm not
other,
rushing it. I'm not rushing it. I don't know why I looked at the clock.
one other property I forgot to mention earlier was Burger King. We finally have received communication from Burger King, whose parent company, I guess, is a company called RBI, which stands for Restaurant Brands, Inc. And their property management group is in Canada. I respectfully requested a name and a contact from somebody in the United States. So they use a law firm in Louisiana. We've got their attorney's contact information, and I was given contact information for somebody here in Illinois and a couple people here in Illinois, I believe. So we will be having communication with those folks and asking them to explain what the hell's going on with Burger King. So. Oh, and the Emporium building, that owner stepped up, which kind of put the kibosh on our abandonment case. And of course, they dragged it out and dragged it out and dragged it out because they claimed they were gonna pay the back taxes and they were going to secure a contractor to demo the building. And we were told about a week and a half ago that they changed their mind. We can move forward with abandonment, so case is going forward with abandonment. And that's the White Elephant building up on 147, so.
And that's us doing that case, the village, not land bank.
No, I think it's the land bank
The
doing
land
it.
bank that did it.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of the house, the residential home on Lawndale.
The residential home on Lawndale was the village.
Okay.
Yeah. And we should be getting the abandonment deed, whatever it's called, deed to that one in July.
Sound like that's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, in July, we'll get the deed on that one.
Excellent. Like I said, it's not always pretty, but we get something done. All right, now you're done? All right, seeing as no further business coming for the board, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.